Ladies and gentlemen, we have had a wonderful set of open mic poets, and now we are to the feature of the evening. This is one of my favorite parts. I get to heap praise upon a person worthy of such. And Karen has come into my life through Sacred Grounds and has provided this venue with features and advisements and events. So she is really a supporter of Sacred Grounds, poetry in general, and she is a marvelous writer. She's going to present pieces from Raven Song, which is a poetic libretto published by Four Feathers Press, and it contains 16 poems and 16 art-related images, all created by Karen. So without further ado, I want to make sure that you feel ready to go, happy, and it looks like you are. So I'm going to mute me. And now the mic is to you, my friend.
Thank you, good sir. First of all, Dan, thank you for hosting this and for Tommy and David and everyone else who makes this happen week after week. Also, I want to acknowledge all of the poets who've read so far. Tonight, I was so keenly aware of the confidence of your work as you were reading it, which makes it even grander work to listen to. So I thank you for your confidence. And I'm sure those who follow me tonight will also be as confident as well. Tonight, I want to share with you Raven Song, which is a poetic libretto. And for a little backstory, librettos were Italian small books of text that accompanied cantatas and operas for those who wanted to read along back in the day. Poetic librettos is a new form that's it's emerging from Southern California, basically founded by Marvin Lewis Dorsey, and it is a compilation of 16 poems and 16 art images, one image per poem. So what I'm going to present to you tonight is basically, I'm just going to read you the text. I will show you two of the art images in my collection, and I will put in the chat a link to the book itself. It's now a flip book published by Four Feathers Press that you may be interested in pursuing to look at more of the artwork. So first, let me open up the screen. I'm going to show you. Can you all see this clearly? Okay,
Yes.
Here are the first two images in the collection. This is, I'm going to put my cursor on the original art piece, which is, when I'm done showing you the picture, just behind me on the wall. This is Raven, and every art image in this collection is a rendition of that original image. You will see to the piece on the side next to it is a variation on the theme of that same art piece, which is a mixed media fiber, apple tree branches and feathers. So these are the images for the collection. Now I'm going to read the collection. And I'm so delighted. There's so many special people here tonight that a few of you have already heard this, so indulge me. Pretend like you've never heard it before. And or maybe you'll hear it differently tonight. So I shall begin. Raven Song. Mythic guide gliding on gales, Raven scoured the shorelines for signs of humans lost in clumps of seaweed and gnarled ropes of kelp. She found me alone, washed up onto the sand, forgetful, unsinging. Her task daunting, she nearly chipped her beak against my hard shell refusal of help. Ebony feathers dripping wet, she pried my shell open, made me row a canoe across a global expanse of water, a world I could not circumnavigate alone. Before sailing, stargazers charted maps, studied weather patterns I had to follow to keep my mooring. In the shadows, I listened to watchful conversations with open sky constellations. Archer and dog chased solar winds of clouds around Venus, whose queenly crown slipped into lunar pools only stellar mermaids could swim. Unable to speak, I took notes and tossed peanuts over my shoulder to Raven. Because I wanted more than I had, Raven led me into brackish waters where overfarmed, overfished estuaries had been winnowed for profit. Nothing stopped sailing coastal currents from pushing and pulling my hips forward. In the swoosh, I toppled. Think of the future where children, cord grass tied to mangrove bushes lining the lagoon, couldn't follow their parents into the rising tides. Left behind, they cried, "Come back." Inlet breezes blew their words away, ruffled ravens' shiny feathers as sharp-toothed girls and boys learned to untie themselves, search for food. Sun-washed memories of family faded. Raven shrilled, "Who will teach them how to work a water wheel?" On cold days, Raven plucked bits of her sable plumage, dropped them into the canoe's forward lookout point, where I sat, hoping to see where I was going. Raven wouldn't let me berth where minus-tide mudflats reached out to dock, grabbed sailboats, dragged them to land. Under pressure, anchor chains swing, dirt fingers pulled stem to stern. Mast poles broke into houses built upon piers for safety. Mud hands twisted grains of wood. Against will, they snapped into splinters sent out to sea. Beached at low tide on Hang On Island, I look for Ankh, an undersea boy who made bonfires with driftwood. He managed to survive days on dry land and said we were still more than 60% water. Even in sleep, he ocean swam everywhere. I told him Raven scanned every day for signs of our waking up, the deep dream lining of our spines. In that sprawl, we would parasail above crushed glass sands into the next swell. When I was seasick, Raven hovered only inches away to make sure I wasn't whipped by salt winds into submission. On a sheltered harbor ceremonial crest, sculpted of red cedar, Raven oversaw salmon feeding bear and lifted buck-toothed beaver, fur once hunted like gold, onto howling seawolf shoulders. Rodent eyes ever on the cove, he scouted for strangers, eager to keep them at bay. Gifted. When Raven opened me up, the pearl inside had not yet formed. The grit of continents rising and falling clung to one another as if my life depended upon them to grind me into a gem. And maybe it did. Maybe. In the end, my journey was to have been born a jewel, admired, treasured, held closely against my once hopeful, hurt, radiant heart, whose chambers faced the four directions on a prayer wheel: east, south, west, north, above and below, vast cloud skies of aqua compressed the sorrow wounds of having not been seen or heard, as I see and hear myself now. In this raven mirrored world, saltwater tears taste like honey, and faraway moonlight ladles crisp blue tints and toasted red hues not known before onto a paint palette, my own hands, the brushes. Grateful. Grateful this legendary bird spotted me, clammed up, unable to set myself free. I built her a totem, a 4-foot tall pine trunk wrapped in purple, yellow electrical coils and tiny white lights that in darkness starlit her fabled beauty. And I sang. Raven wings lift my silence into sound and sight, carry my words and images across waves towards new ports of entry into life. Thank you. So I want to share with you a poetry film, and Jenny Wong is in the house. And if you have never seen really great poetry films, you must check out Jenny Wong's work. Jenny, put your link in the chat. I'm mentioning Jenny because not only does she inspire me with her poetry films, but Jenny, I may need some help with the closure on this one, and maybe you have some suggestions. I'm still working on the sound quality. I'm not real fond of the way it ends. So maybe at some point next week or so, you can give me some thoughts about that. But I want to share with you now because it's Wednesday, I'm going to share with you my Wednesday churita. And for those who don't know, a churita is a Malaysian form established, maybe started coming into shape maybe in the 1970s. It's 3 stanzas. First stanza is 1 line, second stanza is 2 line, third stanza is 3 lines. And it's more narrative than a haiku. It has more breathing room for storytelling and continuity between lines. So I like churitas. So Wednesday wet churita. Thank you all for always welcoming me. I feel like this is one of my home poetry communities. And by the way, the churita, the art is mine also. That's my photograph. So blessings to all of you. Thank you. And I want to see, here's Raven. Here she is. Can't really see her real great in this light, but here she is.
Ladies and gentlemen, unmute. And let her have some.
Okay.
Yay, Karen. That's
Oh,
awesome.
that was lovely, Karen.
Beautiful, Karen. So glad to be your client.
Thank you all.
That's
You're
good.
very generous, and you know, I think the world of all you guys. So It's just wonderful to have all of you here tonight. I just feel really like happy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Good presentation, very nice.
yes,
Thank you.
yes, yes, and yes. Beautiful work. All the
Thank
way
you.
through. All the way through.